Hey, beautiful souls. Welcome to Unblock Your Blessings. I'm Vicky Labrilia, your travel size emotions coach, helping you navigate the roller coaster ride of emotions, revelations, and all that comes with adulting. So get comfy because we're about to dive into the nitty gritty of unblocking all that emotional weight and letting the sunshine right back into your life. Don't forget to like, share, follow, and subscribe. And of course, leave an honest review at the end of this episode. It is free, it means the world to me, and it helps this podcast reach more ears. So, friends, it's time to unblock your blessings. And I am so happy because today is a very special day. You are getting blessed to hear from an amazing human. So, I'm going to do her bio because let's be real, I got to read it because there's so much here. I want you to understand how valuable this beautiful soul is and how many nuggets she's about to share with us. So, friends, this is Shannon Fox. She is a promotions and compensation coach, three-time international best-selling author, and host of the Career Growth for Working Women podcast. So go follow her, okay? Her published work is cataloged in the Library of Congress as well. Shannon helps high-performing women become the obvious choice for raises, promotions, and leadership opportunities through her 5% promotion method. She believes the biggest obstacle to career growth isn't the lack of talent, it's assuming hard work speaks for itself. Her work focuses on strategic visibility and career positioning so women's value becomes impossible to ignore. And I love it. Shannon, welcome. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited about today.
Friends, you got to see this smile she has on her face. Like I'd be lying if I didn't say like she's one of my favorite humans. We've been connected in more ways than one, and I finally asked her to be a part of my podcast, and it's perfect timing, wouldn't you say?
Yes, absolutely. It's
Yeah.
been a long time coming. I'm so
Right.
excited to be here.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so as you can tell, she is an amazing human doing amazing things in this world. And she has a specific niche, but the conversation we're going to have today is for your ears. Again, she has so much wisdom. Is she perfect? No. She's gone through life. Life has lifed her. And so she's going to share a little bit with us today. So, the first thing before we dive into your work, I wanted to ask what is one obstacle you've had to overcome in your own career to ultimately become one of your greatest blessings?
That's a really good question. I think for my career wise, I was that person that thought if I worked harder, I would get seen, I would get the promotions. And I was working like 70, 80 hours a week at one point. I was not sleeping. I was working all the time. I got to a point I wasn't taking vacation and my health obviously suffered from it. And finally, one day my boss pulled me in and he went, you have to start taking time off. Like you literally have to take at least a full day off of work every week because number one, you're not ever taking vacation. You haven't taken vacation in over a year. You've got too much accumulating and we can't give you more. Like you
Yeah.
have to go take it. And so he's like, for the next 4 months, you get to take a day off. And I was like, every Friday? Do I get to like
Right?
have a
Let's
long
extend the weekend.
weekend? And he was like, well, can we alternate between like Fridays and Mondays? And sometimes I just did a random like Wednesday, but every week I had to take a day off. And that was probably a wake up call, but it was also really hard because at first I'm like, they need me. They can't survive without me. That's my ego talking, right? But
Mhm.
then as I did it and it came to like month 4 and I went, what a blessing. Like I learned to like I need to take care of myself. I need to have self-care because I would literally go home to get my dog and he would come back to work with me and spend the evening at work in my office so that he wasn't just at home all by himself the whole time. And
Mhm.
so like but I learned I'm like I get to now choose me. I get to choose time for me and I think that that was really like a low point that turned into a really big turning point for me. And that's why I'm so passionate about it for other women as well.
Because you've done it yourself.
I've
And I
been there.
think whether it's a career coach, whether mindset working like in this field, in this work, the reason why someone is great in their brilliance is because they're not just teaching it, they've gone through it.
Yes.
You
Yes.
have to have that
Absolutely.
real life experience that
Absolutely.
because you can't convey it otherwise. It doesn't have the same punch, it doesn't have the same feel. And a lot of us humans are becoming more aware of fake versus real, right?
Yes, yes, absolutely,
You can't fake it.
absolutely.
You just
No,
can't fake it. Oh,
no.
friend, I'm glad I started with that question. Now I'm
Yeah.
curious. I know you've told me, but are you open to tell us what you did before what you are currently in? Like, what was this
Yes.
job that took 80 hours of your life? Like that gave my heart like
I
freaking out
know.
for you.
Heart palpitations, right? So it was, I worked for a home builder and I was their closing manager. And so I had to work with all the construction managers and the VP to make sure that the homes were closing. I'd have to, sign all the papers. I mean, I would sit there during meetings and just literally sign my name. And that
Mm-hmm.
took forever because I had a
Mm-hmm.
really long name and I had to do it all over and over and over
This is
again.
before everything went digital, right? Like before
Yes,
majority went digital.
exactly. And so
Mm-hmm.
one closing, it would take me 20 minutes to sign. So I would just sit there and it was on repeat. And we would have like one month we had over 100 homes that closed, which is awesome.
Yeah, not for
But
you.
but my hand was tired. And I was one of the few people that could sign. I mean, obviously my boss could sign, but that was my job was I had to
Correct.
sign that. But then I also had to make sure, hey, they're getting their COs, they're getting all of the other moving parts that went with it. And
Mm-hmm.
finally, one day I was like, I need help. I get to have help.
Mm-hmm.
And so we ended up hiring a team, and then that also helped because I got confident enough in myself to stand up and say, I cannot continue this. There gets to be other people. They may not be able to sign the documents, but they can send emails. They can check on things for
Yeah,
me.
they're
Like I
teachable.
need,
They
yeah,
can, yes.
exactly. I just need some help. I can't
Well,
be all the things. And I knew where my weaknesses were. And so they get to fill in those gaps as well.
so I hope our listeners are listening to some of the verbiage you are using because it's all gonna come together, I promise you. So this leads me into the second question I had for you in regards to you're aware, like seriously, this is so good, and I'm so excited for the listeners to hear your response because I know you, like I already
Yeah.
know what's part of what's going to come out of your mouth, so I'm already excited. So the question, my friend, is why do so many women believe that if they simply work hard enough, someone will eventually notice?
I think that that's how we're programmed. We think if we're working harder, that everybody sees those accomplishments because we see them. We're the ones that see them. But in reality, if you're not voicing them, you're not showing them to your manager like, "Hey, did you see that I did XYZ and it reflected this?" Like, "Hey, I went and I used my skills and we were able to finish this project 2 weeks in advance."
Yeah, like the
Oh,
outcome, like what
yeah,
I
the outcome,
did.
show the outcome. Exactly. Because there's just saying, oh, okay, they finished the project. Great. Awesome. It worked. Let's move on. They're not
Mhm.
in their heads thinking that, oh, they finished it 2 weeks early. You have to show them that. You have to tell them that. And I think we just assume that they see it because we see it in ourselves. Like we see what we're doing, we see how amazing we are, but it's not the truth. The truth is they don't really see it as they have their hands in all these other things too.
So I spent 13 years of my life in the school system. I do not regret it one bit. It taught me so many lessons. I learned some hard things, and I'm so grateful. You posted this. So friends, I am excited. When this resonates, which it will, I'm so happy because in the description below, all the things you're going to find a way to connect with Shannon. She posted something about this on her social media feed and it hit hard. I was like, oh, wow. Younger me was simply doing that. I was working harder. I thought if I worked harder, then I would be noticed. Like it 100% visceral feeling over me. I was like, wow, because I didn't open my mouth. I didn't,
Right.
I did not share what I thought was already assumed and known from all the people I was doing work for or whatever.
Right.
So
And
yes.
and I think also we as women, we feel like we're bragging if we tell what we've done.
Uh-huh.
And we kind of all think of us ourselves as like superwoman and we can do all the things. And if we're telling everybody that we're doing the things, then we're bragging. But typically as women, men on the other hand are not afraid to be like, yo, I just did this, and this. And their manager's like, oh wow, that's awesome. But women, we typically just don't do that. And we feel like, oh, we have to be quiet or shy or more timid. And that's not true. You can say what you've accomplished without it being boastful or braggy. Be proud of yourself. You should be proud of yourself. You're amazing. You're doing awesome things. Tell someone that.
Shake it into. See this, can you see already why I just love this woman and the work that she's doing for other women? I I'm glad she's in my life now, but younger Vicky wishes she was there. So,
Yeah.
again, this leads me into another really awesome question that I had, and I think it's going to sit really well with our listeners. So, what do you think, Shannon, is actually holding women back? Is it the fear? Is it the conditioning? Is it the confidence? Is it the people pleasing? Waiting till I'm ready. Hi, I'm Vicky. I sat there for a long time. Wait till I'm ready because I felt comfortable because I was too scared to mess up and be brave.
All of the above is the right answer. It is. It is. We think we have to feel confident before we go and take action. Well, you get confidence by taking the action. You're going to mess up, period. No one's perfect. No one's perfect. You're going to mess up. But what do you do with those mistakes? You get to learn from them. You get to be in gratitude that you say, hey, thank you for allowing me to learn this lesson now and let me learn and continue and move and improve upon it. And I think that, like I said, women are taught to be more shy and quiet and timid. They're overpowered by men typically, especially in a boardroom. There's that masculine energy that comes into play. And we just sit there and we're a little bit more quiet. But we get to voice our opinions because I feel that we need everybody. We need everybody in the room. We need all the men, we need all the women, we need the older people, the younger people, we need everybody in between because we all have different perspectives. We've all been through something else in life, and those experiences help as a team bring us together to make sure that if it's a project or whatever it is that you're working on is done to the best because you have all of these different perspectives.
Yeah, it's a collaboration of your brilliance, that other person's
Yes.
brilliance, and knowing and distinguishing between added value that's not necessarily added value and then value that is like, oh my gosh, this is spot on. Does that make sense? Like,
Yes, yes. Because I think we as women have a tendency, we have this idea and we're like, hey, I don't have it perfected yet. So we're sitting there and we're trying to perfect it in the meeting. And then this person over here is like, just spitballs it out completely messy and all over. And they're like, oh my goodness, that's the greatest idea. What can we work on? And you're like, hey, I was just thinking that, but I was trying to make it perfect. Stop trying to make it perfect. Just spit it out there. And then somebody else is going to be like, oh, I like that. What if we added this? Or, oh, and what if we did this? So just
mhm.
spit it out. Just get it out there instead, because otherwise you're going to have that regret of, man, I had that same idea and I should have just said it.
I should shitting on ourselves. That is a
Yes,
very, very big thing for many women.
I know.
I, yeah. And we do. Oh, I love this. So good. This is like coaching gold, y'all. Save this episode because you're going to want to re-listen to this. So, you teach women, my friend, you teach women to communicate their value.
Yes.
Why is that so uncomfortable for so many of us?
Because, oh, good question. I think, I know, I feel it is because, again, we're not really taught how to do that. We typically just think, oh, my work is going to show and I don't need to vocalize it. When in reality, you could be doing just okay work, but if you're vocalizing your impact, leadership's going to see that. That's what they want. They want to see the outcome. They want to hear the outcome. They're not going to look in the mundane details of what's going on. They need the outcome. And so I feel like we kind of just aren't taught that. Like we are just, oh, we're just going to work hard. Like it all goes back to that where we think our actions are going to tell this whole story and they're just not. You have to vocalize it.
So I'm in my head. I'm like, yes, uh-huh, like absolutely. So how do you advocate or how do we advocate for ourselves without feeling arrogant?
Well, I think if you learn how, first of all, I think it's documentation and learning to sit there and like one of the things I advise my clients to do is at the end of the week, why don't you have a email or a message board or if you're using Slack, like, hey, this is what I accomplished this week. This is maybe where I felt like I struggled. Can we sit down for 10 minutes with your manager and talk through it? But then you have talking points. You also have your wins and you have where maybe you might need some help or struggled and they can see that. But you coming to them and saying, hey, this might not be my zone of genius. They can maybe say, well, Shannon, no, it's not yours, but Vicky, it's yours. Let's maybe give this portion over to her. But at the end, when you go to your performance review, you can't remember everything you did week to week to week for the last year.
Oh heck no. No, no, no. Not
You,
not even close to it.
but if you have these little tidbits, and it doesn't even have to be long, of just like, hey, my top three wins this week or this, my top three challenges this week were this. This is what I'm going to execute next week. But then not only does your boss know where you're going, you have documentation for when it comes to your review. And you can sit there and say, look, I had this, and this from this week and this. You have the documentation that you need in order to sell yourself. So it's not bragging. It's literally just documentation right there that you already have. And
Mhm.
if your manager sends you a compliment or a great email, you screenshot that. You put that in a little folder. And then when it comes time to review, be like, so, did you remember when I did this project? This was your exact quote to me, and you have documentation again in your review to say, "Hey, here, this is what you said about me," to remind them. And that's not bragging. They were the ones that said that about you.
Yeah.
So I just think that that's an easy way for the listeners to just say, "Oh, I can do that." It takes less than 10 minutes at the end of the week, but I think after a year that the benefit of that when you walk into that performance review or whatever, I mean, and it could be anything that you have those tangible things so that you don't feel like you're bragging. Does that
Mhm.
make sense?
Yeah, that does. No, that does. And for the women listening and who's probably thinking, okay, I'm qualified enough, but I don't know. What would you tell her? What would you tell her that thinks, I'm qualified, but, or maybe that woman is like, I'm not qualified enough. What is
You
the,
are qualified. Take the butt out.
yeah,
Take the butt out. Change it with. Change it
yeah.
to and I am qualified. Make it a
Hmm.
positive because you are qualified. You're in that position for a reason
Hmm.
and you do bring value. Just showing up every day, you bring value. It may not be like changing what you think is quote unquote changing the world, but you're making an impact. You're making an impact on your teammates, your coworkers, your boss, the person at the front desk that you walk in and you smile at and say, "Good morning." You know what? You've made an impact and changed that person's day. So
Hmm.
you are bringing value to every day that you're doing that.
Hmm.
Like you have value.
Yes. And I second that. We do. We all have our unique value. And something that Shannon does, and she hasn't mentioned it yet because we haven't gotten there, but I guess we can get there now, is that we all anyways, in Vicky fashion, squirrels, we have our strengths. So have you heard of Strength Finders? If not, Google it. It's awesome. Is it Clifton Strengths or Strength?
Clifton Strength Finders.
Yeah.
Yes.
we all have our strengths. And if you've done this before, it is like, boom, oh wow. Like you know me so well more than I do, but this makes sense. So, in Fox's coaching, career coaching, she pulls those up. She requires you to do them because that is part of your brilliance. I
Yes.
wanted to just ask you to share a little bit about that of how you incorporate strengths in your coaching and share a little bit about because this is most likely new to my listeners, but I can guarantee that there's going to be some souls that listen to this is like, "Oh wow, I actually need what you offer."
Yeah. So the Clifton Strength Finders is you can take the test. It takes like I think it's a time test. It takes like 45 minutes and it just asks you different questions and there's no right or wrong answer. I just have to say that from the very beginning. There are no right or wrong answers.
Mhm.
It is literally just asking you questions. And then it comes up with this brilliant report and it has all 34 strengths and on there. And yes, I say all 34 because even your bottom strengths are still strengths. And I'll explain that in just a minute. At least the way I coach it is. And so you go through and you take it, and then they're divided into four different quadrants. So I like to call them, your visibility zones, your value zones, and their relationship building, their influencing, executing, and strategic thinking. And it's just kind of like the overall, like instead of
Bird's eye
30,000, you're
view.
maybe at like 10,000 view.
Hmm.
And then within that, you've got your top 10, which are usually are the ones that you are live in, and when you're living in those you're very energetic. Now your bottom five, those are ones that de-energize you, but the way I like to do it and coach and teach my clients is that instead of looking at them as a bottom strength, what we do is we reframe them so that they go up to a positive strength, one of the top 10, so that you are still energized by those activities because you're going to do those bottom ones no matter what. Like that's just life. Like we have to do that. But you can reframe it so that you can fall into one of your top or a couple of them. Mine sometimes stretch into a couple of them and use that strength. So then it's a positive, and then you're energized and you're excited. And so I just love using them because I think that when you write them out and you see these definitions, and this is towards, you go through things in my program, but at the end you come out with this beautiful statement, and it's kind of like an affirmation, but it's totally you're using your words, and it is just extremely powerful. And I've never had somebody read theirs for the first time and not cry because it's so emotional, because it's just they look at me and they're like, that person's amazing, and I get to say, that person's you. That person is amazing. That person's you.
Yeah.
And
Oh, that's so well said.
it's so awesome to just to see it all come together because I think that, you know, and I'll say like out of every person that's ever walked on the earth and million billions more to come, that there will be never two strengths reports that are never the same. Like you may have one or two that are in the same order or like four, but they're never going to be the exact same
Ever.
ever.
Just like the DNA, like
Yeah.
God made one of us. Even if you're a twin, God made one
Yep.
of you. You're
Yep.
twin. If you are a twin, a triplet, quadruplet, you name it, your strengths are still your strengths and it's nobody else's. So
Yep.
we talked off air. Do you have my strengths up? Because I
Yeah.
sent you. So I you did I have it pulled up. So this will make more sense if you've gone through, and learning your strengths and what they are. But I would love for you to maybe share some insights. And I want my listeners to hear and see if like, oh yeah, that's how that's Vicky. That makes
Yeah.
sense. I want you to connect the two dots.
Okay. Well, I'll do it this way a little bit. Okay. So I want to take your number. Okay. So out of your top 10 strengths,
Okay.
your number one strength is the one that flows most naturally. Like that's the one you're going to do. Easiest. It's just who you are. And then your number five strength is kind of your anchor strength because You have your 10th strength, which is kind of typically we stop there and say that's the one that is last of like major energizing you. But there are some people that go down to 12, 11, 12. Not, I've had one person that I know that went to 13 to just kind of wrap the bow up, but
Hmm.
typically it's 11 or 12. But we normally just say let's stop at your top 10, and so that's like the bottom. So then your number 5 is your anchor, because it kind of anchors you between right before you dip off and the one that you're most excited about. And so I'm going to do this little exercise with you instead of just like going off all of them.
Okay.
So for Vicky, her number 5 is connectedness. So that's her anchor strength. And how I do connectedness and my definition of it, and I've kind of adapted it more for working women because that's who I work with. So, and I want you to listen to this definition and then you tell me what you think.
Hmm.
So, connectedness it is a relationship building strength. So, relationship building, obviously, it's, wanting relationships. So, you lead with perspective, meaning, helping others see how their work fits into a larger purpose. You naturally recognize patterns in relationships that create alignment and calm, especially during uncertainty. Your value comes from your ability to ground people in what matters and remind teams that challenges are part of a bigger picture. When you operate at your best, you bring perspective, purpose, and steadiness to your leadership.
Totally.
Yes,
Totally.
that
Yes.
is you. So, as a fly on the wall, what would I see you doing to do that, to as you're representing that strength?
What would you see me do?
Mm-hmm.
I do it
And your daily.
on autopilot of
Yes.
making those human like heart to heart soul connections. But in moments of chaos or crisis, I'm able to breathe, scope, like, okay, and assess and act upon that.
Yeah.
I thought for the longest time, like people just do this. Like,
Yes.
but they
But it's because
don't.
it comes so naturally to you.
Exactly, because it's my anchor strength.
Yes.
It's yeah, but it makes sense. Like again, these tests are no fluff. This is just who you are
Yes.
completely and
And
bringing
they
in
don't
awareness.
change. They don't change. I have experienced that if someone has had a major um, life change, like a major divorce or some trauma that has happened,
Hmm.
that either that they healed from or has happened, that is the only time I've seen them change. And typically it just has rearranged their by like two or three, maybe one of them, this person had gone through massive trauma. And so her like number 6 ended up going to like 13, but that was like the biggest jump. Most of the her top 10 were still her top 10.
Just in
They
different order.
just got rearranged a little bit. And even her bottom ones were all the same. So
Hmm.
it's like literally, like you said earlier, it's in your DNA.
Hmm.
It's not personality, it's just who you are as a person.
Yeah. And this is what you bring into your 5% promotion method.
Yes. Yes. We
Yeah.
we talk about that.
That is so good. That is so good.
So
Okay.
when you were talking about your problems and everything else, to bring it back to what I like to full circle again, like how would those outcomes of what you said you did, connecting souls and in a chaos bringing a little bit of calm, how do you think leadership would see that, and how could you communicate that to your boss?
Well, it's the whole problem solution. It's the whole seeing the situation, assessing and acting accordingly. Like these steps in this order, this is how I can serve those people involved.
Hmm.
Am I going to be the problem solver? I might not. Am I going to be, the anchor for all this? No, I could just be a piece to this puzzle. But voicing it, okay, voicing it to the powers that be, right? My boss, you know, whoever's above me, I can see why that would be so beneficial for my career growth, for my growth as a human, like not alone just career growth, but I could see why over time I'm giving them so much evidence in the fact of like, yeah, of course we get to pay you more.
Right. But it comes so naturally to you.
Yeah.
And I want you to notice you keep saying voice, voice, voice. Well, your number one is communication.
Yeah.
And communication, you create impact by translating ideas into clear, compelling language that others can understand and act on. You naturally bring clarity to conversations, whether you're explaining, presenting, or advocating for a point of view. Your words help align people, shape understanding, and build shared direction. When you operate at your best, you influence outcomes by making ideas resonate and stick. And that's exactly what you were just saying. Because that's your number one. And that's like, oh, this is just simple. Like, I'm just going to communicate. I'm going
Uh-huh.
to just communicate this. Whereas someone else who has communication low is going to say, oh, well, I'm not going to need to voice it all. They're going to demonstrate it in another way. But you kept saying, voice it, because you're number one communication.
And I didn't do that on purpose, y'all. Like I did not do that on
I know
purpose
you
at
didn't.
all.
That's the best part about it. That's why I was smiling over here when you kept saying it. And voice, and I'm going to say, and I'm going to speak. And I'm going, uh-huh, because I know number one is communication.
Friends, this is so valuable. Can you understand and feel the love here? Like this is why Shannon Fox is a guest on my podcast right now because the value she brings to working women is invaluable. And she gets to help you learn that through her 5% promotion method. Did I say that right? Did I tongue twist it? No,
Yes.
promotions method. Say that 5 times fast, y'all. But she's in this space because there's women out there that need it. And the whole connection to me wanting her on here is because she's a good soul doing good things. And sometimes we are in our heads, right? The conversation between our ears gets really loud. It can get very convoluted. One thing I talk about often in this is that blessings aren't necessarily missing in our life, but sometimes it's us blocking them
Absolutely.
or blocking ourselves from receiving them.
Hmm.
So in Fox's world, she unblocks what's stuck. Like
Yeah.
she taps into a different level that you didn't even know existed or was dulled and all that awareness. And I firmly believe that there's some some amazing humans excited to have this land on their feed because I just know it in my soul that you're going to book her. You're going to have that one-on-one conversation. I do want to know, friend, how you came up or what sparked this idea of creating your method and why you decided to take action and offer this.
Well, I think I've always been about women. Like, I want to empower women. I feel to me that's just in my heart. Um, I had, you know, so I'll tell you just a quick story. So growing up, my dad owned his own company, and as the oldest child, I was groomed and trained to eventually take over that business. And that was still the case until 14 and a half years later, my mother had a son. There were four girls and then my baby brother. And at that point, my dad sat me down and said, guess what? I'm no longer going to let you have the business. I'm going to eventually give it to your brother instead. And I said, why? Because you know me, I'm going to press back a little bit.
Hmm.
Like, oh, okay. And he was like, well, you're a female. You can't run a business. And so at that point, I think that it was like, I'm going to show you, like, I can do this. Why does women? And I feel like there's a lot of other women that have sold themselves short because they're women. And I just felt so, I just wanted to empower them and let them know that they have so much value and they can do the hard things just as well. It's just one of those things that I just felt empowered to do. And then as I started working with clients at the beginning of this, it was more just geared towards just women, helping them. There was no nothing about it. But what I learned was that as I started working with them, they would go into their reviews a lot more confident, and we would practice things and we would do all of that. And they would come out with these 5% raises. And so that's just kind of how the program evolved. It went from it was a little bit smaller and different to, okay, let's do this. Let's get you that 5% raise that you deserve. Let's show them your value because you're worth it. And so I've been blessing people like that and helping them. And it's just an amazing thing. I love to just watch and cheer them on. So that's kind of
That's so good. That friends, oh my gosh, I don't even know how long we've been chatting. I have no idea. It's just, it's so organic, it's so real, and it's in perfect timing. I do have one question for you. I mean, I have many. Like, girl, I have a whole list right in front of me, but this would be a 2 hour long conversation. I'm not going to do that to our listeners. But can you share a story about someone who underestimated their own value and what changed?
Yes. So, I had a client that she is a nurse and she was prepping for her review and she had gone in and her manager had kind of given her a little heads up like, it's not going to go well. And she's like, well, what do you mean? And they're like, well, you take a long time making decisions and you just aren't a team player. And so she called me up and she was like, okay, this is what I just heard. And I said, oh, I love this. And she looked at me like I was crazy. She's like, what do you mean you love this? I'm like, well, let's pull out your strengths report. And so what we did was her anchor strength is deliberative. And with deliberative, you take your time thinking and you want to make sure all you have all the pieces put together so that you when you make that decision, it's the right decision and you've put it all together. And so we went through her strengths and her bottom strengths and how she was using those. And so she walked into that review and she walked in with confidence. And when they talked to her about making long decisions, why does it take you longer to make decisions? And she said, well, it does take me longer. I have deliberative as my, anchor strength. And this is what it does. But if you notice, here are my results
From my
versus
deliverables, right?
my deliverables versus this person who just acts and just like doesn't think, makes these quicker decisions,
Uh-huh.
and what she's actually costing the department because making them so quickly. And they're like, whoa. And then they say, well, why are you not a team player? She's like, that's not possible. Like, look, my includer is on my top of mind. That means I am going to make sure everyone fits in there. And so she literally went through and they had no idea what their strengths were, but she didn't care. She was just like, here's this, but here's the value. Here is the evidence that I'm living in these strengths.
Mhm.
And this is where you can help me. These couple of things actually could go to this person over here because they're not my zone of genius. I do them and I can do them with a smile on my face because I have positivity. But this person would be more equipped and qualified and could probably do them quicker than I could. And she left amazed. And they were like, here's the raise. Guess what? You've been wanting to change your hours. We don't grant that at this level, but you get them now. Like
Yeah.
she walked out of that review and I remember her calling me in tears and going, it worked. It worked. And I went, of course it worked.
Yeah.
Like, duh. If I was
Yes.
there, I would shake you.
You're like, I was
Like,
waiting at the finish line because it was you were there. You were getting
I
there.
know. I knew it, but she didn't have the confidence until she like started learning. And then it was like, Oh, light bulb moment. And it was really fun to watch because she really did not have the confidence or totally underestimated herself. And then when she walked out of there, she was a completely different person.
Ah, that is so joyful. I,
Yeah.
and that is available for every woman.
Hmm.
And you specifically work with career women
Yeah.
ready and willing to act accordingly through your method. Like, yes, all the things. So I want you to leave our listeners with a little bit of information about how they can get a hold of you and your final word, like words of wisdom. Again, this could be a 2 hour conversation, easy. So I'm stopping it because there's so many more questions and maybe we get to do a part two. Like, honestly,
Yeah.
on my heart, I think there gets to be a part two. So I would love you back again so we can
Yes.
continue this conversation.
Of course. Let's do it.
Okay.
Done.
So, how can our listeners get a hold of you, friend?
So my website is theshannonfox.com. I'm on Instagram as the.shannon.fox because apparently there's another one. Um I I'm on LinkedIn, obviously, it's the Shannon Fox, and Facebook as well, same the Shannon
Yeah.
Fox. So that's
And
the
it will
best
all
way
be
to.
linked below. Y'all, it'll all be
Yes.
linked below. There's no test here. Like, we got you. We want to make sure that you're connecting in with the right people. Is there any words of wisdom that you want to share before we let our listeners go today?
I just want them to know that each one of you are amazing. You do not have to be anybody but yourself, but you get to show up and show your value to leadership or to the world. Like you get to show it to the world as well. Go out there and be yourself, be your authentic self, and just be you because we as the world need that.
I love it. Okay, friends, you can see why this was a perfect fit. Hopefully, you have some massive nuggets and some new awareness around this conversation today. Share it with a friend, share it with your bestie, share it with the people that you know need to hear this conversation. Thank you for tuning into this episode of Unblock Your Blessings. If you found this episode helpful, enjoyable, or just freaking awesome, make sure you subscribe. Do all the things. And I can't wait to see you in the next episode. Take care. Bye bye.